Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be doing the support tier list for 14.13. So, as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check out the stream. Right now, it starts around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to try to transition down to hopefully get it to start around 9:30 or 10. Sometime later this week if I can get my sleep schedule fixed. So we'll go for a couple hours. Hopefully around 10 o'clock, and I might start, if I can get my sleep schedule fixed, I might start doing an afternoon stream too over the summer. I'm not sure if I can do it in the school year or not, where I play some non-league games, probably some either single-player or MMO games. I think I might do some Final Fantasy 14 around lunchtime, Eastern Standard Time, maybe noon to 2 o'clock. I know a lot of people probably won't care about the game itself, but if you want to come by and just chat, hang out, talk about life, talk about your day, whatever you want to do, that's fine. I think most people probably come to the channel just to hang out and chat anyways, regardless of the game. So we'll see how people do with that, but most days, if I can get that started up, it would probably be around noon to 2 o'clock. And then for a lot of the people on European time, then that would be around dinner time as well. So that could give a chance for some people to come in and visit and hang out that aren't able to make kind of the later night streams. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get in here. So not a lot is shifting on these patch, or on this patch rather. A lot of these changes really don't matter, and many of them are kind of weird, like changes that aren't like really affecting the meta now. It's either too late affecting something that happened many patches ago, or it's just like really minor champions that it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I don't think a lot is going to change, but we'll talk about the few things that do here. Okay, so Brand has been pretty good in the jungle. I think he's been a little lackluster as a support. He's okay, but he hasn't been overperforming that much in the support role just because he is sort of limited by the amount of gold that he gets, and really he's strong once you get Blackfire Torch plus Leandries is when he starts taking off. So he's okay as support, but they're mostly nerfing him as jungle, again, where he's been doing okay, but not insanely good. I think they nerfed him a couple of patches ago too. But anyways, they're nerfing his mana restore whenever he kills minions. I don't remember if that's monsters or minions as well, but I think this is trying to nerf like mid lane Brand, which is just kind of horrible. Nobody plays that. Maybe, I guess, like ADC Brand, which again, nobody plays that. So this is sort of an odd nerf. They're like nerfing his worst role. I think his best role is jungle by a long shot, and then support's okay. And they're nerfing Conflag at later ranks. So you max your W typically first and then Conflag. So this really isn't going to matter until, you know, you start getting to level 10, 11, 12, 13 when you're getting multiple points in E. And by that time, you're probably going to have Blackfire or Leandries anyways. I guess you can also get Rylai's, which is good on him. But if you have one or two of those burn items, you know, losing 20 damage is not going to matter that much anyway. So it's kind of some odd changes, but it is what it is. I don't think that's going to affect him too much. Gangplank, now they're trying to make it to where he doesn't have to get crits. They're trying to say he should be getting Trinity Force instead after the changes to Essence Reaver and, you know, all these other things. So, okay, he's really off meta. I still don't think he's going to be that great in solo queue right now. Maybe the specialist can do well on him, but most people not. Gragas is a bit of a head scratcher because, you know, they're saying that he's really good top. There's a lot of champs that are played way more, that have way more success than Gragas does, both in solo queue and pro. So if we go to pro games, he's almost never played. That's like occasionally. The stuff that you're seeing in pro play, Cassante is still extremely strong even after the nerfs. So it's like Cassante, Rumble, Kennen. They do tap Kennen a little bit later. Renekton, Camille, like Skarner. They do hit Skarner later. Spoiler. But yeah, he's just not like really represented at all. He's the, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th most picked champ. Yeah, he has a pretty good win rate, 64%, but he's the 11th most picked champ. Like, Rumble has a very similar win rate. Skarner, again, they're nerfing Skarner. Renekton is up there. Camille, like, a lot of these champs have good win rates. Cassante, curiously, has a bad win rate, but he has still picked a ton. And then in solo queue, you know, he's really far down there too. I don't know what that is. Probably 11th, 12th, 13th, really far down, and he's 52% win rate. So I don't know what they're looking at to decide that they need to nerf him. And this is a pretty substantial nerf to his sustain. But I think he's an interesting champion that has a unique kit that is okay. Like, I don't know. I think he's a pretty fair champion compared to a lot of the other stuff going on in top lane. So I kind of hate to see him nerfed. I mean, it doesn't matter that much for my personal gameplay. But I like to see those unique type of champs get played a little bit more. His ult is a really interesting, you know, ultimate. A lot of different things you can do with it. A lot of counterplay to it typically, except for like his flashy and then ult type of stuff. But I don't know. I hate to see him get nerfed, especially when he seems not completely irrelevant, but definitely not meta right now. Okay, quick draw. Graves is kind of in a weird spot. I think this is a wrong way to take him. I like to just give him more damage. I just think that the durability, like basically AD carry, is just not a great paradigm. But okay, they're trying to help him out against other AD champions in the jungle. I guess that's fine, but I wish they'd just give him more damage and like not buff his free durability. Callista, this champ is just bad. Like, everybody knows she's bad in solo queue, but she's just almost never played in pro, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th most picked AD carry. And yeah, she's got a pretty good win rate. Now, she is banned a lot, I guess. Like, she's the 3rd most banned. But I don't know. And she's just one of the worst. Everybody knows that in solo queue, under Diamond, probably under Challenger. She's not that good. So they're thinking of nerfing her for pro play. But again, there's however many champions, 8 champions, whatever that number was, that are picked more than she is. So her presence is pretty low, and they say that they nerf stuff based on presence. They nerf pro things. They look for 80% presence. And she only has 54% presence. So, I don't know. It seems odd. And it's like big nerfs, too. 2 AD is kind of whatever, but they are removing her minimum non-champion damage, non-champion execute threshold. So this is going to, like, really hurt her farming and her ability to take things like Barons and Dragons. Which is one of the unique reasons why you would play her. And they're nerfing her ult. So I don't like to see them nerf the unique parts of champions' kits. Like, the whole reason you pick those champions, I don't like to see them nerf that if they can help it. Like, just tap the numbers a little bit. I mean, I guess it's kind of the opposite of what I just said for Graves, but that unique thing that he is a ranged champion that's resistant to other physical ranged champions is, I don't know. I feel like it's difficult to balance. But anyways, I think that that's just a lot, man, for a champion that's like barely in the top 10 most played. It just seems like she's just not really that great most of the time. Okay. Karthus is obnoxious, and he is getting played quite a bit in pro. I don't know what his like win rate is. Actually, he's not played as much as I thought. It's like most of the I see him play because I've been watching a lot of pro play lately, and he seems to get picked a lot. But maybe it's just the games I watch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10th most picked champ, 35% win rate. And then solo queue. What? Where is he? Did I miss him? 51% with a 5% play rate. So you gotta scroll. It's like 20th most picked or something. I mean, he's annoying when he gets super fed, but there's a lot of answers. Like, yes, his ult does hit everybody, but You know, you can get Locket, you can get Maw of Malmortius. You just get all kinds of lifesteal items to try to stay healthy. Barrier is very popular right now. I feel like, especially since they've nerfed Blackfire Torch several times. I mean, they could just nerf that item a little bit more too. But yeah, he's not performing well. I mean, maybe there's some people in Challenger that are playing well on him, but I think it's just one of those things where it just like feels annoying for people to play against. But when you look at it statistically, it's really not that great. People call it OP, but if you look again, you look at the data on it, it's really not. At least as far as I see. But anyways, they're tapping the Q a little bit. I mean, that's probably fine. That is going to hurt his clear speed. He does get, I think it's like double or triple damage when he hits isolated targets, but he's still going to have the ult. He's still going to have the double burn items. So I don't know how much that's going to affect his win rate, but it's already pretty low. So I guess whatever. Okay. Kennen's losing 31 health. I feel like Kennen, again, is not that powerful. Like, he's getting played some. But is he? I mean, am I crazy? I mean, 64%, but again, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th most picked champ. Top lane, solo queue, YOLO queue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A lot. 20, 30, I don't know. Not even anywhere close to a top 10 most picked champ with a 52.5% win rate. Like, it's not that bad. It just feels random. Like, he does get played some, but that's a massive nerf. I mean, he's okay, but Camille, Cassante, like, there's a lot of stuff that's way more powerful. If you're balancing around solo queue, right? Wait, I didn't have it. Did I not have it on most picked? I thought I did. Either way, he's way the hell down there. But, I mean, if you're just, like, cherry picking stuff, like Sets, 53%, third most picked. Garen, Camille, Jax. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with 52+%. And then if you're looking at Pro, it would obviously be Cassante if you're looking at picks. Skarner, who does get nerfed. I mean, Renekton, Rumble, Camille, we already talked about. Like, I don't know. Strange nerf. Lee Sin's getting some buffs. That's good. I think Lee Sin is a very interesting champion to play against, and to watch. So I like it when Lee Sin's in the meta. They should buff him up a little bit. I don't think he's that great right now. This seems fine. What do they even buff? Okay, early game, his shield is a little bit better. I always thought it'd be cool if he could be viable as a support, but they would have to take away some of his damage in order to give him more utility so he's not too overpowered. And I don't think they're going to do that. People just like it. Like for him to be played as a support assassin, basically, with a little bit of utility. Okay. Lissandra, interesting niche champ. Kind of gets squeezed out right now. She does have a lot of CC, but she's low range. Yeah, I think it's fine giving her some buffs. Just if you want a fairly low damage mage that's got a lot of CC, either Lissandra or Malzahar fits that pretty well. Like, that's minor buff on the AP ratio, little cooldown on the W. I don't think it's going to matter. Some people have tried to play her as support in certain matchups. I mean, that could be interesting, but these are not going to help as support. Like, it needs to lower the cooldown on her ult, or like increase the CC duration or something like that. Would have been better. But okay. Misfortune. This reasoning is odd because they're saying that they deliberately want her to be above average because they think she's easy to play. So it's like, technically, if she's at 50%, that's bad, is what they're saying. And it's like, I kind of get it, but that's weird. Like, I don't think you want your best champs in the game just to be the easiest champs. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, I see what they're saying, but it's weird. And they're giving her a lot of buffs. Is she even that bad? I mean, obviously she's not really played in Pro. But I feel like in solo queue, she's not... I don't think she's horrible. I mean, it's not great. at 50%. It's not great, but I don't know. She needs like a ton of buffs. Anyways, okay, she's getting a little bit more AD. She's getting a lot more like the movement speed comes online faster, and it's more movement speed, and it like starts off faster and like accelerates faster. So they're giving her a lot more utility with the W to actually use it as a more realistic escape tool, or chase down tool. So I think that's fine. That's one of her unique things. They're trying to make her unique. She's the, one of the rotation supports. Okay, Orianna getting 4 more AD. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, yes, she does have wind up. She does get extra damage on her auto attacks because of her passive, but I don't really think that's what's changing her. Orianna is a very unique and interesting champ, and I wish they would just, either give her a little bit more damage. Like, her damage is somewhat low unless she gets a lot of items. Like, her base damage is pretty low. They could also just make her shield a little bit better. I think she'd be an interesting support if she had just a little bit better numbers on the shield, or lower cooldowns, or like better mana management would be a really nice tool for her, because her W is very expensive. It's like old school spell costs, like 110 mana or something at max rank, like just crazy mana costs for a modern champion. So I'd like to see them mess with something like that, but I don't think this is going to move the needle on her. Pantheon, a little bit more minion and monster damage. They really want him to try to be a jungler. I don't think that's going to matter. Okay, Skarner, a lot of people say his champ's turbo OP. I haven't seen it in my games, but just everybody constantly says that he's good. He has a high win rate in pro play, high presence in solo queue, I think. Not that high, but most people say that he's good, and that's probably true. So his mana cost is going up, so you can't poke as easily early on, and it's doing less max health damage. I think that's probably fair. He does a lot of things. He has a ton of utility, and it looks like he's just really tanky and does pretty decent damage too. So some of that has to get tapped down, so it looks like they're doing the damage. Okay. Talia. This seems like a gutting, right? I mean, I don't know the exact numbers. Extremely overperformant in the jungle. Okay, let's see. Think in your mind, what does extremely overperforming mean? All right, for me, that would be bare minimum 54%. Like, to use the word extreme. So let's see what it actually is. 50% in pro. She is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 most picked jungler. Well, at least it's a top 10 champion this time. So 50%. And how is she in solo queue? 50%. Wow, that's extreme. And she's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th most picked. What are these changes? What is happening? What are they looking at? I mean, what data are they looking at? It's not pro. It's not Emerald Plus solo queue. Is it Challenger only? Is it like one trick challengers? Okay, one trick, like, challenger play. She's the 4th most picked in challenger. She's got 57%, but Nidalee also has 57%. So does Lilia. So does Hecarim. So does Kindred. So, I mean, Karthus does too. They are nerfing Karthus, apparently. So does Belveth. So does Xin Zhao. Like, Challenger's always going to have a really high win rate because there just aren't that many people that are that good in solo queue, right? So they have to play down into Masters and sometimes Diamonds. So Challengers, like, they're always, the good champions are always going to be, like, 55 to 60%. So, like, it's questionable. Challenger is the most, like, questionable place where you would see her. But there's other champs that are similarly powerful in those roles, and she's not overperforming in pro, and she's not overperforming for 99% of the player base in Emerald Minus. So I don't get it, and I think this is gonna really hit her her clear. And if you're nerfing something, why are you not nerfing Zyra? Just nerf Faded Ashes, right? Just nerf that item to where it does not clear jungle camp super fast. And I think it's fine. I think Blackfire as a completed item is probably okay. I think Leandri's is probably okay. You might have to tap the damage a little bit or increase the cost or whatever, but I think it's just the clear of AP junglers with Faded Ashes, even after the nerf. I think that's the problem. And I think Lilia is unique. Again, I don't like playing against Lilia, so I have a heavy incentive to not like, or not Lilia, Tolia. I have a heavy incentive not to like her because I play a lot of engage mobility champs, and that's what she's really good against with her rocks. So, personally, I like that she's out of the meta. I'm totally down with that. But I just think that if I'm trying to be fair, I think it's good that there are anti-mobility champs in the game, and she's one of the few that's played that's like decent. Pretty skill expressive. You got to hit your knockback to be good on her. You got to play around your like weaved earth or whatever it's called. You got to use your ult correctly. I think she's a very interesting champion, and she's unique, and I just don't like seeing her gutted like this because I think this is just going to kill her clear. Because you hit multiple rocks. It's like 5 rocks or something. So anyways, that's rough. Okay, Varus. I don't know about all this, honestly. They're trying to basically make on-hit a lot better, and they're trying to make lethality worse. That ultimately is probably easier to balance around, although that is a thing that makes him unique, is that he's a burst, long-range, like CC type of champ. And so he has played in pro quite a bit. I don't know his win rates, but I know he's played a lot. So this one would be justified in getting a change, I think, at least if you're looking at how often he's played. But his win rate is horrible. He's the 4th most picked, so at least he's top 5 picked, but he's got a 37% win rate. They're not touching Zeri. She's got a 58% win rate, and she's the most played. In solo queue, he's bad. I'm pretty sure. He's almost always bad in solo queue. So this is a little bit of a head scratcher. But it's a bit more understandable than the other ones because he is at least picked a decent amount of the time. Yeah, negative win rate, 49%. I guess he's negative in pro too. And again, he's unique. He's got, some engage. He's got, burst potential. He has on-hit if he wants to do that. Pretty skill expressive. You got to hit your arrow. You got to figure out if you're going to try to execute or not with your W. He doesn't have mobility, so you have to actually position and kite properly. So, I don't know. I think he's unique. I mean, they have, multiple paragraphs here. Again, the data just doesn't make sense. He's picked, sure, but he's not the most picked, and he has a low win rate. And he's not banned that much. Right? Sometimes they say they look at presence, 80% presence for a change. He's only picked or banned 43% of the time. He's not even banned a lot. Ashe is banned. Ashe is closer to someone that you would want to nerf according to their metrics they talked about years ago, which is presence. She has a high win rate at 54%. She's the 5th most picked. And she's banned 140 times. Now, a lot of that is because of her support role, too. But that's 73% presence. So, if I were, on the balance team, if I were looking at someone to nerf here, I would probably either nerf Ashe or Zeri. So, I don't understand the Varus thing. But they're trying to make his on-hit better, which takes away his lethality build, which is the more unique build. So, I don't know. We'll see how this is going to work with him. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. We're just going to see what it is. I'm not a Varus, a one-trick. Some of this is just really weird. You have to actually play him a lot to understand this. The Q cast lockout timer. That could be a massive nerf. I don't know, because I don't play him. Sometimes these quality of life things are just really odd. based on rank. So you have to put more points in your W now in order to actually do more damage. So they really, really want you to put points in your W. So we'll see. His on-hit build is okay. They have nerfed a lot of the lethality items anyways. So we'll see. I'm not sure. I think he'll probably still be played. He could be good, but I don't know. It's a lot of changes. And he's already, like, not great. Okay. Zaya, I agree. She needs some buffs. So 8. Cooldown a little bit lower on Blade Caller. That's okay. Base damage. It's okay. I don't think that's going to move the needle too much on her, but it's alright. Zach. This champ he's getting played in Pro, and I know we're getting pretty close to like 30 minutes here on this, so I don't want to take too much longer. But I figure I might as well talk a lot about the patch notes because the support tier list is not changing too much here. Isn't he played top? I feel like I see him top. But maybe not. Wow, he's not. Okay. So maybe it was at Worlds he was getting played some, but like nobody's playing him top right now. I don't know. Trades are nearly guaranteed. Sustain makes it. Yeah, but he's like, no one's playing him. Is this just late? They wanted to nerf him after Worlds and they just didn't get around to it? Like, what? He's picked less than 2% of the time as a top laner. Yeah, he's got a pretty good win rate, but it's like, it's picked less than 2% of the time. I don't know, seems weird. Okay, they're nerfing his stuff. Opportunity on range champs. Very few range champs even get this after they nerfed it before. So they're like, nerfing it again. For like Corki. Corki was getting it. I don't know. This just feels really late. But okay, sure. Dark Harvest is a lot worse. I think now it's 20 flatline, so you're losing out on 60 free damage on this just from leveling up. And now you get more per soul. So I guess on supports that aren't going to like reach a very high level, maybe this is a little bit better, but you need a lot of extra procs for this to pay off. You know, you need 20 more souls. Pretty much, right? Because you're gaining 4 more souls per, but you're losing out on 60. Well, not 20. Okay, so you need 15 more souls at max level. So I don't know. Champs that can really, like, proc this a lot, maybe it's a bit better, but it seems bad. Okay, Electrocute early on does a lot more damage. This is good for, like, assassins. You can trigger it more often every 20 seconds. It's a lot less later on in the game. So, I don't know. A lot of this is odd. There's weird things getting nerfed, but I don't think it's ultimately going to affect the support meta too much. I mean, maybe if, like, Varus, if the new changes to Varus are really good and on-hit Varus is very strong again, I don't know. But it's probably not going to affect too much. Okay. So, I've just put Leona in a class of her own here. Her win rate, she is getting picked a lot in Pro. Her win rate is low. Surprisingly in Pro. She's like pick or ban, most picked. About a 40% win rate. So not great. There are definitely counters to her out there. However, in solo queue, it's a lot less organized. She's almost got a 54% win rate. She's got a 53.5, and she's picked a ton. So she's the 5th most picked champion. And she's just extremely good right now. So what's making Leona good? Well, first of all, Warmogs. I've had people ask about this. People are talking about it on the channel. Is Warmogs really that good? Yes, it is. And you'll notice that as a theme, where it's like almost every major champion that's doing well in Pro right now is Warmogs. And most of my top champs in the top tiers are going to be Warmog champs. Now, enchanters and some mages are still like pretty good, especially enchanters. But I still think the Warmog's users are going to be where you want to be most of the time, and I'll talk about why with Leona. But a lot of this stuff is also going to apply to the other champs, so it's going to cover a lot of why I have the other champs where they are too. Okay, so Warmogs, they gave it 250 extra HP a little bit ago. So that is like 700 extra gold worth of value, something like that. So HP is worth 2.66 gold each. Yeah, 665. So that is a lot of extra gold on 1410. So as a value proposition, it's pretty good. Just the baseline stats on it right here, just a lot of health regen, movement speed, all of that, 3200. So even with no passives, it's already 100% efficient, which is very good. It's like a little bit over 100, like 104, yeah, 104% efficient. Now, it's only 1300 gold to trigger the passive on it, and it gives you 1,000. So if you just take the scaling health runes, which is pretty standard on most tanks, you take the scaling health rune and you have your gold item, then that's going to, as soon as you complete this item, you're automatically going to be able to get the free health out of it. And this is very, very good, right? So in YOLO queue, as we all know, it's just constantly running around from fight to fight over and over again. And so being able to heal up and rotate, or, you know, just coming out of a tough fight and being able to heal up and then tank Baron or Elder or whatever is a big deal. Or if you just happen to get poked out, there's a lot of poke champions out there right now that are very popular, right? Especially you've got like your Ezreal, you know, you've got your Zyras, your Brands. There's a lot of situations where you can take quite a bit of damage, then just step out of combat, you know, for 6 seconds, heal all the way back up, and then go back in. So that's really good. That's kind of classic. That's always been there. But the thing that a lot of people really overlook, myself included, because Warmog has been out of the meta for so long for most champs, is this 10% bonus movement speed that you get also while you're doing that regeneration. So that just allows you to zip around the maps. You're getting 15% out of combat movement speed. That's a lot. That's like 50 movement speed or something out of combat. So that's approaching like a free mobility boots on top of this item that's already really good. Oh, wow, my hair is like acting crazy right now, but I need a haircut. Yeah, it's just extremely good, and a lot of the things, most notably Blade of the Ruined King, got nerfed really hard. Like the percentage health damage on it got nerfed really hard, and so a lot of people just aren't playing that anymore. So you just don't have a lot of champs that are doing the percentage health thing as much anymore, and some of those champs that do that type of thing, like your Kog'Maws, also aren't getting played very often. Vayne gets played some, but not in the bottom lane very often. So the percentage health champs are gone, and true damage is pretty popular right now with Kraken. There's a lot of different champs that are getting Kraken, and so that true damage means that it's very good against armor or magic resist or whatever, but it's not going to be as good against health, right? So flat health is the best thing against true damage, unless the true damage is also max health damage, and in that case, there's just nothing that's good against it. And Lord Dominic's is really powerful. So a lot of people are getting, you know, third item Lord Doms. Even if you don't have a lot of armor, they're still going to get it. It's just an incredibly powerful item. And so that means if you're getting something like armor instead, then that armor is going to get a lot less valuable later on in the game when they have Lord Doms. So that just means that flat health is really good. And there are a lot of champions that have nice scaling with flat health. I've had someone on the stream earlier that was saying, well, aren't resistances better? It depends. And I don't know all the math. You can look it up and see the exact breakpoints, but as you get more and more resistances, each amount of gold that you pay is giving you less percentage increase in resistances, right? So if you have 0 armor and you buy a cloth armor, you know, for 300 gold, that's going to give you a lot of resistances. But if you have 100 armor and then you buy a cloth armor, that's going to give you less percentage increase. If you have 200 armor, that's going to give you less percentage increase. It's like a graph, and I don't remember exactly what that's called mathematically. But it basically, curves off into, is it an I don't think it's an asymptote. But whatever, it flatlines at the top. You're paying a lot of money, or you're paying a lot of gold for not a lot of gain, right? Because 100 armor is going to block 50% of damage, but 200 armor is only going to block 75% of the damage, I believe, and 300 blocks 80. It's something like that. So you're just getting less and less and less value. So at a certain point, you want health instead. Now the flip side is also true. Once you have a lot of health, then the extra armor that you get is going to give you more effective health on that, right? So if you just have 4,000 health with no armor, then 4,000 physical damage is going to kill you. But if you have 4,000 damage with 100 armor, then all of a sudden it's going to take 8,000 physical damage to kill you, right? Because the armor is going to reduce the damage by 50%. So it's synergistic. You want some mixture of resistances and health, right? So you really don't want to stack all of one or the other, ideally, but it's a lot easier to get resistances in other places in your kit, and a lot of champions are going to have resistances. Like Leona is going to get free armor and magic resist off of her W. Aftershock is also going to give you free armor and magic resist. If you take the support item, the little bubble thing, that's not armor and magic resist, but it's reducing incoming damage for 2 seconds. So that gives you a lot more effective health. And the fact that you regenerate all of that health at a certain point as well. So all of that just really means that Warmogs is super, super good right now. That's the TLDR. Warmogs is incredibly OP for those reasons. So it's almost always a good item to get first on most support tanks. And then after that, you can get your resistances if you want to. Your Locket, your Frozen Heart, your Knight's Vow, whatever. But just getting this huge stack of health just allows you to rotate around the map, make some really bold engages, and you're probably going to survive, especially if you have Aftershock and other resistances, because you're just going to be almost impossible to kill in a lot of situations. And you can just back up and heal even more. So that's rare. Very rarely do I recommend, items that are more than 3,000 gold for supports, just because it takes so long to complete it, and you're losing out on a lot of tempo when your other support is buying, low 2,000 gold item stuff, like 2,200 for Locket or Zeke's or whatever. But this is so powerful, especially with the regen, with the movement speed, that, and it is a greedy item. It doesn't offer any help to your allies on the surface. It doesn't give them a shield. It doesn't give them the damage redirection, of Locket or Knight's Vow. But the fact that you can rotate around, and the fact that you can just soak a bunch of hits for them and make bold engages and things like that indirectly helps your allies a lot. So that's the main reason why Warmogs is so good, and why it's a big reason why engaged champs are so good now. Another reason why engaged champs in general are really good right now is that people want to play AP junglers. For the reasons we talked about during the patch notes, AP junglers are really good right now because Faded Ashes allows them to clear super, super fast. Now, yes, they did nerf a couple of the AP junglers, right? They nerfed Talia, who wasn't super popular to begin with, but she's nerfed. Brand, they tapped. It's not going to matter. He's still going to be good. He's still going to be played. Lilia is still going to be played. They didn't touch Zyra. She's still going to be played. She's still good. They nerfed Zac a little bit. I mean, I guess he probably doesn't get that much Faded Ashes. Didn't touch Maokai. He's good with Faded Ashes. Build into Leandry and then tank stuff. So I think you're still going to see that. So, and just in solo queue in general, a lot of people like to play carry junglers. Whatever that is. Whether that's AP, whether that's Assassins, AD, whatever the meta is, people love to play carry champs. Same thing with top lane. There's just not a lot of people that want to play tanks because people want kills. People want to do damage. That's it. But you need CC and you need a tank on your team. So if you're willing to step up and do that as a support, it makes your comps just flow a lot better. Now it's perfectly fine. If you have a carry mid laner, top, and jungle, at least you can start fights. At least you can frontline, especially if you have a Warmogs and you're playing an engaged champ. So it frees up comps a lot in pro play, which is why you're seeing engaged champs practically permanently picked, and why they're almost always picked in pro play, is that it just frees up the comp where you can run carry junglers. And even if you do have another tank, it's fine. Like, most of the time, your comp can even have, like, up to 3 tanks. And as long as you have really good hyper carries, that's fine. And a lot of stuff that's tanks or tanky can also kill people, right? Like Cassante, Set, stuff like that. But it's very, very rare where it's going to feel bad as a support to have a lot of CC and hard engage. That's very rarely going to be a bad thing. Where you're like, oh, dang it, I really wish I had a Lux at 35 minutes right now instead of, you know, Leona or Nautilus or whatever. It happens, but it's almost always good. And especially right now with just how good the carry AP junglers are, and you're seeing a lot of, like, you know, in pro play, Tristana, Corki, stuff like that mid lane, but you're seeing a lot of squishy carries mid lane too. It just is really good for your comp. Also, it's really good for vision control if you have a tank. So, especially in solo queue where people are not going to back you up while you're warding a lot, just being able to go up and face check a bush if you have to, you know, to get your wards in there, to, you know, check Baron or whatever. You still have to be a little careful about that, right? If there's 5 people in the bush, you're probably still dead. But if it's just one person in the bush and you've got Warmogs, you can probably, you know, survive. Just stall and run back to your allies and ping a bunch or whatever, right? But if you're playing an Enchanter, you're playing a Nami or a Sona, and you go check that bush, you're probably dead, even to just one person. So it's a lot harder to establish vision control as an Enchanter. And you can punish them disrespecting your vision also if you're a tank. So you have their support trying to come over and check on that Baron while you guys are doing it. You've got it warded. Just go over to the pit and kill them, right? They're coming to check Baron. Come over to the pit and kill them. So not only can you establish vision really well as a tank most of the time, you can also, you know, do something with it. You can actually make a play off of that vision. So I just think it's incredibly powerful just to have playmaking champs, to have tanks right now, especially when you've got this super strong item like Warmogs. Everyone else is wanting to play, you know, carry champs and other roles. Tanks are going to be really good. And Leona is one of the queens of the tank. So what is it about Leona? Now that we're at like 42 minutes, we can actually start talking about the champs. A couple of things that have brought her up in power a little bit. The first one, aside from all of those things I just mentioned, why Leona specifically over someone like Nautilus, for example, they nerfed Cleanse last patch. So I think it used to be 180 seconds, now it's 240. That's a long time. Now, a downfall of Leona historically is that all of her CC is reduced by tenacity and it's all cleansable. Okay? Versus like Nautilus is a displacements, knockups, things like that, Blitzcrank displacement. Leona's is all, you know, it's all reduced by tenacity and cleanse. So cleanse got nerfed. A lot of people are not playing Mikhail's champions, and even people that are playing enchanters aren't getting Mikhail's as often. It's kind of a weird item. So that's another thing that's basically like a cleanse that's not getting used. And they nerfed tenacity across the board on a lot of different things. They nerfed it in the runes. You can still get some tenacity, but you have to go a bit further out of your way than you could before with tanks. I think they got rid of they either nerfed it, or I think they completely got rid of the tenacity rune and the alacrity tree, right? The yellow tree. They got rid of it. I think they nerfed the jungle pets with the tenacity. So Mercury treads are still a thing. But they've gotten rid of a lot of the other ways that people could get tenacity. So tenacity has been reduced. And Leona does a lot of damage for a tank with her passive. Every time you do damage to people, you put this little debuff on somebody, and then whenever your ally does damage, then it procs it. She does a lot of damage for a tank, baseline, with no damage items. It's quite a bit. And her cooldowns are really, really low on her abilities. So her ultimate starts at 90 seconds. It has huge range. It's very easy to hit, especially if they don't have any sort of, dashes. And her Q, which is, basically an auto attack stun that can't miss, is on like a 6 second cooldown. Her E, I think, starts at a 10 or 11 second cooldown and can get all the way down to like 6 seconds. So it's just really, really low cooldowns. And she's extremely tanky. If you take Aftershock plus your W, that's going to give you a lot of resistances. If they're triggered at the same time, whenever you your W scales off of your resistances that you have. So the Aftershock is going to feed into the W, and then the W also feeds into the Aftershock. So she is extremely tanky, even early on in the game. So she's great at diving. She's great at, engaging and frontlining for people. She does a lot of damage. She has really high uptime on her abilities. So she just can CC people for so long. It's crazy. And she's just the best offensive hard engaged support I think out there, just because again she's so much CC, it's so much uptime, and she can go through minions, she can go over walls with her E. Nobody can body block her stuff, so like enemy tanks can't body block her because her E is going to go through to the last target. Her R just comes down from the sky, it can't get blocked by a Braum. No one can body block it. She just gets in there and gets it done. Now a problem potentially with her is she has no reverse gear, right? So whenever you go in, if they counter gank you or just something weird happens, your ADC doesn't follow up, the enemy jungler, shows up out of a bush, or just whatever, it's a problem. So she has pretty much no escapes other than just like trying to stun somebody and walking out. Now she is very, very tanky. A lot of times she can do that, but that is a potential downside. But if you're making smart decisions on her, if you're respecting when you're on weak side, when you're getting camped, then she's very good. She also doesn't have any sustain, but if you take second wind, now you can take a rejuve bead early on because that's going to build into Warmogs, and you've got your regeneration off of your gold item. You can get quite a bit of sustain in there. You've got Font of Life, can also give you a little bit of regen whenever you go in on attacks, so she's got a lot more sustainability than she used to against poke champ. So it's still not going to feel amazing if they have something like Jhin Zyra against you in a lane if you're getting poked out. But she does have some more tools to deal with it than she has in the past. Okay, so I think she's S right now in solo queue. In pro, she's picked a lot. Again, questionable win rate, but in solo queue, she's just extremely good. Yes, there are some counters to her. Tahm and Braum are both pretty good against her. Morgana is really annoying to deal with. Poppy's annoying to deal with, but there are still ways to work around these champs because you have such low cooldowns if you're picking your fights correctly. So I still think she's really, really good. Okay, moving down. So I think she's in a category all on her own. And then I've got Rakan. I decided to move him a little bit lower just because he's not as much of a Warmog's abuser as some of the other champs, although Warmog's is the most popular item on him right now. But he's good engage, he's good disengage. He does provide burst protection if they are playing some type of assassin type of champ. He's got a lot of escapes, so he's very difficult to gank if you're going to be on the weak side. He can do a decent amount of damage up front, not as much as Leona, but more upfront damage baseline probably than something like a Braum or a Tahm or a Nautilus, just because his W does so much damage up front. It's like 280 just off of hitting them with your W, on top of your ult, your Q, your auto attacks, all that stuff. Now Zeke's is also pretty good on him, and he's one person where I think Zeke's has about the same win rate as Warmog's on him. So if you do want to get a cheaper item, if you do want to come online and just get some tempo and operate a little bit faster, that can be good on Rakan because Rakan doesn't need as much survivability as some of the other major tanks because you're highly incentivized to go in there, get your engage, and then get back out. Right? So he's very good at protecting people with his shields. He's great at mobility, but he does not have a lot of CC. So having that Zeke's in there for the little bit of extra damage and for that kind of slow field is pretty helpful on him if you're ahead, if you think you're going to dominate. Locket is also pretty good if you really want to protect a backline target versus some kind of divers, Nocturne, a Vi, something like that. He can protect the backline pretty well with that too. And his matchup into Leona and Nautilus it's still pretty good, but once they get Warmogs, that's just another target you're just never going to kill if you engage on them. So it is difficult, and if everybody has a Warmogs, right? If it's Leona versus Rakan or Nautilus versus Rakan or whatever, like they're gonna have more CC than you do, right? They're just gonna have more uptime. They have lower cooldown on their CC. Like Nautilus is just like auto attacks a bunch of people. He can root them. Versus Rakan, you've got your ult to CC a bunch of people, but then your W is on kind of a long cooldown, and that's sort of all the CC that you have. So he has the potential to just kind of run out of gas against those mega tanks if your team, can't blow up the person that you engaged on. If they've got a Nautilus or a Leona sitting in front of them, or Braum or Tahm, it's going to be a hard time. So he can still be pretty good, but it is a little bit tougher now than it has been in the past, just because it's so hard to blow people up through Warmogs. Okay, and then Nautilus is sort of similar. He's gonna rush Warmogs. He has a really nice hook. The nice thing about Nautilus's hook is it's really long range. It's longer range than Leona's, and it's got a really fat hitbox, so it's very easy to hit that Nautilus hook. You can also use it as an escape tool, which is nice if you're weak-sided. Now, obviously, if you go in with your Q and then something weird happens, that's going to be bad. But if you hold on to it, if you're just pressuring up with your ADC, just trying to push a wave in or something, and then you get flanked, you can potentially get out if you're able to hook walls and things like that. And it can help you rotate around the map a little bit. It's got some fringe benefits to it. Nautilus is a lot squishier than most of the other tanks on this list, so be aware of that. He does have a steroid with his W. It does scale with max health, so that is nice. That does give you some extra scaling with Warmogs, but it's a pretty long cooldown, and his base stats are a bit lower than some of the major tanks. I think he's got like 37 base armor versus, I think, Leona, Tahm, Braum, and Blitzcrank all have like 44 or 45 armor, and they get more per level too. I think they might also have more health. I'm not sure about that, but they're tankier than he is. So he's not as tanky. His E is kind of wimpy. He's probably the lowest damage of the major tanks out there. His baseline damage on his abilities is not super high, and his E is kind of wimpy if you don't put a bunch of points into it, and most people are maxing Q these days. So there is that. But yeah, hook, very easy to hit. His ultimate, one of the best ults in the game. It can hit multiple people. It's almost impossible to dodge unless you've got like an hourglass or some just really obscure things, Morgana Black Shield, that type of thing. The ult's going to connect. It's going to be powerful. So Nautilus does have that going. You just have to be careful because, again, he's squishy and he can't hook over walls. He can hook into walls to get away, but that means that you can't really take advantage of vision as well as some of those other champs because it's hard to get over the wall. You can take stuff like Hex Flash if you want to, so you can get over the wall and try to make those plays. That's a reasonable choice on him, but he's still going to be pretty good. Okay, Blitzcrank, same deal. I'm not sure. I haven't seen a lot of blitzes. I haven't played blitz. If he's going Warmogs as well, I don't see why he wouldn't. But, really low on CC, kind of like Rakan. Doesn't have a lot of CC, but that hook is extremely powerful. He's really high single target burst damage. I think the hook is like 300 base damage, and then your ultimate is also like pretty high damage and break shields. So, really high burst. It's not great if you hook another tank, especially if they have the Warmogs completed. It's really hard to burst them out. People can body block his hook later on if they have enough durability for it. So, it just all depends on how well you can hit those hooks. And, you got to control vision so they don't see you, so they can't dodge it. But if you're just taking over the game, or if you're against an enchanter, he's one of the best engaged champs against things like Nami, like Janna, Lulu. He just kind of feasts on those champs because their peel is not going to be strong enough most of the time. If they get hooked, they're going to die. Or if you hook their ADC, it's going to be really hard for them to peel out of it. So, weaker against tanks. There's a lot of tanks out there right now, but a lot of people in solo queues still love to play their enchanters. They love to play the Brands, the Zyras, Luxes, the damage champs, and those things are very juicy for Blitzcrank. Now, mobility boots did get removed from the game, and I think that does hurt him a little bit, but boots of swiftness are also pretty good. They did nerf his durability, I think, a patch or two ago, so he is going to be weaker in all-in situations, especially against other tanks early on. They have more damage than him, so something like a Leona is probably going to be a problem. Even if you hook her, it could get rough, depending on who the ADCs are. But overall, he still does what he does. and it's really powerful in the right situations. Tahm Kench I'm going to go ahead and put up here, even though technically a lot of people would probably consider him a little bit more of like a counter pick sort of champ, or like a niche champ with Senna. I think he's really good in solo queue, just to pick, at least at Emerald minus. He does a lot of damage to melee champions. Especially if you take Warmogs, and some people even take that other high health item, Heartsteel, with him. I think it has a similar win rate. And I know we're just about out of time here. But he's got a 53% win rate. Now, he's only a 1% pick rate, so he's not picked a ton. But I have played quite a bit of Tahm Kench over the last couple weeks. And I can tell you, he's pretty good. So both of these have a high win rate, right? 55% win rate. Now, Heartsteel is picked more. Now, a reason people pick Heartsteel with Tahm Kench is because he does so much damage. They're really just leaning into that. And if you're wondering, like, what do I mean by the damage? Why does he do that much damage? It's his passive. Does a percentage of your max health damage per hit, and it stacks up to 3 times. And it's quite a bit. So it's 6 to 48 damage, and then 4% of your bonus health as magic damage, and applies a stack. So if you have 1,000 bonus health, right? If you just have Warmogs, not including runes, all that other stuff, that's going to be 40 damage. And if it's like, you know, level 9 or whatever, that's an additional 40 damage. That's 80 damage, 160, then 240. On top of your normal auto attack damage. So your normal auto attack's probably going to be hitting for like 80 or something there. So you're autoing people for like 340 or something like that. It's a lot of damage, and it can be even more than that. But if you also throw in something like Heartsteel on top of that, you know, your first or second auto attack on him, that's 12% from items. So that's an additional 120 plus 80. So now, you know, you're hitting them for like 500 damage on an auto attack. So it's crazy. And your Tongue Lash also applies this. So if you hit them with Tongue Lash, it's 280 base damage, which is high, on a low cooldown. It costs, you know, virtually no mana. It's 34 mana at max level. 5-second cooldown, 900 range, really fast, 2800 speed. And it does this on top of it. So it's doing 280 plus, you know, the 80 damage that you would get off of your acquired taste, and adds a stack onto it. So it's like 360 damage on this, and it's a slow for 2 seconds. So he really starts cranking when you auto attack people and you keep triggering this on them. And you can eat them, you know, if you eat offensively, then it's, you know, just a lot of damage. Most people are going to eat defensively with him. But how you can play him, you know, you can just hit your Q. It's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to provide a slow. And then your allies, if they have some sort of engage or CC or whatever, you know, they can go in. Or if you want to go full offense, you can go full offense. Just hit them with your Q, Abyssal Dive them. If they don't have, you know, a dash or a flash, they're going to be dead. And if you can just hit them with this Abyssal Dive as well, just out of a bush when people just aren't suspecting, if you get really good at aiming this thing, it's a little awkward because it takes like a second and a half for it to land, but it's a pretty big hitbox. It's like an Alistar Q hitbox, and it's got nice range as well. So if you hit someone up with that, you auto attack, Q them, auto attack them again. If they don't flash immediately, you can chomp them with your R, walk them back into your team, and just hand them off, right? And this is a pretty low cooldown too later on, especially if you eat them offensively. So he's a lot of damage. He has really good sustain in the laning phase. His gray skin kind of falls off a little bit later on in the game, but good news is you don't really need it because, at least for the regen part, because you're going to have Warmogs. But it scales really nice with his maximum health. If you have to use your shield to get a big burst of extra health, then you can just W out of a situation if you get caught, and then just heal back up with Warmogs and go back in. So it's really nice. And he does have this free dash. Now, it can be interrupted by CC, but a lot of people are going to use their CC on you whenever they catch you or during a fight. But if you get caught out and stuff's weird, you can get out of there with your W. He's one of the only tanks with a free dash like that. Rakan's the other one. I guess Rakan's not really a tank, but y'all know what I'm saying. Free dash, really, really powerful, even though it can be interrupted. Usually you can play around that. So He's got a lot. He's got high mobility, really high damage, real tankiness, extremely good utility with his ult. I mean, this just basically completely deletes a lot of engaged champs out of the game, right? Whether it's Vi, Nautilus, Leona, whoever's trying to dive onto your important target, you can eat them and save them. I do wish this shield lasted a little bit longer. I think it's like 3 seconds or something. So you really, like, it's an insane shield, but you don't even use most of it. But he's still really, really good. Now, the downside of Tahm Kench and why he's a little bit lower is he does have a difficult time getting access to the back line. You can use your W to get there. People can potentially dodge it. And you don't have as much on-demand CC, right? Like, you can stun them with your Tongue Lash after you've already auto-attacked him a couple of times, but it's not like that hard stun, right, that like Leona and Nautilus and those types of champs have. It requires a little bit of setup. So his CC is a little bit lighter, but he has insanely good peel with all of his slows, with his, his W, his Tongue Lash, auto attacks, really high damage versus other tanks, and just the get out of the jail free card with his R. So he's somewhat unique, but if you really want to bang, if you want to do a lot of damage, I mean, he can solo a lot of champs out there, even as a support. People just laugh on the stream whenever I'm able to just run down and kill the enemy ADC when they're on like, 2 or 3 items as Tahm Kench. He can lay some pipe, man. Tahm Kench can give it to you. He's a really strong champ. Okay, and then I gotta get out of here. Gotta take care of some stuff. But Braum's another champ's really good, similar to Tahm. Very good peeler. Doesn't have that on-demand stun. Not many of them. He does have his R, obviously, for the knock-up, but it's a lot of CC in team fights. Whenever you get to auto-attack people in queue and start stacking up that passive, it does a lot. And obviously, his shield just completely negates a lot of abilities out there, whether it's Twitch ulting, Misfortune ult, Ornn, just any sort of projectiles that are going to be flying in, Ash arrows. I mean, you can just body block the Ash arrow, I guess, but there's a lot of interactions that are very favorable with that shield. So, especially if they have multiple ranged champions, if they're running like Trist mid plus some ADC bottom in team fights, he's really going to do a lot for you. So, Braum, very good champ as well. Nami did get buffed a couple of patches ago. Obviously, still good with Lucian. Pretty good with Jhin. Pretty good with a lot of other casters out there. She does kind of fall off later in the game compared to some of the other enchanters. Like, the scaling is not that great. She only has 1 heal. But she can still be pretty strong. And then Janna is very good at peeling some of these engaged tanks, like your Nautilus, your Leona, and then somewhat outscaling them once you're able to get whatever items you get that help you outscale, whether it's Redemption, Moonstone. You can get a Mikhail's if you are up against something like a Leona and you want a little bit more anti-CC. Ardent Sensor is still really good if your AD carry is far ahead. So she has a lot of potential. She can't start fights very well, so that's kind of rough. About all you can do is just kind of W. You don't even have anything to speed up your allies, so that feels kind of bad. But if your team has a lot of CC and you just need to protect your backline, I think she's pretty good. She does have a high win rate. Nami and Janna both have a high win rate, so I'll put them in tier 2 just out of respect for that. But that's it. I got to get moving. Like I said, I do think that Poppy is getting played a little bit more. I haven't played it personally and check it out. I think it could be a good niche counter pick versus high mobility champs. Leona, Rakan, Nautilus. I'll have to test it out some more and see. But she does have a lot of unique things about her. She's got that, circle anti-mobility thing. She's got the knock champions out of a fight thing with her ultimate, which is very good if there's a smite fight for Dragon, or just to clear out an important person or two for a team fight. It can be pretty good, but I'll have to test it out. She has a high win rate, but a low pick rate, so we'll see. And then Rel is very popular and good in pro play. I think it's a little bit less so in solo queue, but she does very well with Warmogs. Whenever she's dismounted, she gets a shield that's a percentage of her max health, so that's nice. She brings a lot of utility, but I think you have to really know how to play her and all the kind of different unique interactions that she has, and a lot of her stuff can be dodged pretty easily, but I think that she does have a lot of potential. But anyways, okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we'll see everybody next time.